The system is working. They have fitness standards. They have standards for civics. If you fail the standards, you don't get in. So the story is that you have a system in place designed to weed people out who shouldn't be in, and it's working.
Newsflash, Trash Jennings. The system is not working. They are taking people out the country. Instead of people being illegal, what's actually happening is you're taking people out the country illegally, like you did with many people that who were here illegally even, and you won't even give them due process. So your whole administration is jacked, Trash Jennings. But that's what we're talking about today, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're new to my channel, I would greatly appreciate you all liking, commenting, and subscribing. And let's get into this.
Some of these interactions between ICE agents and the public, frankly, it's not entirely surprising that that's what's happening as they try to rush these people through the process of getting certified to be on the streets.
Okay, well, in all honesty, I'm athletically allergic. Could not pass the presidential exam when I was in school, could not do a pull-up for a nanosecond. That being said, look, I think this lack of not only the athletic aspect, but also the civics aspect is showing in the interactions we are seeing. There have been at least 170 U.S. citizens that have been detained by ICE. We have seen people get scooped up because they're black in Chicago, U.S. citizen blacks, put into U-Haul trucks, in the back of U-Haul trucks. We have seen teenagers pinned to the ground. We know that there have been more deaths in ICE custody in the last few months than there were in the last 4 years. So, I would hope that even folks who are in favor of deporting everybody, I would hope that there would be some agreement that there needs to be rights, that there needs to be a process, that people need to be allowed to show ID, that they can't just be scooped up in that way and have their rights violated. It's just inhumane what we are seeing in the streets of America.
Or at least that the standard shouldn't be lowered just to meet a quota.
Okay, I just have to respond to this. If you are housing or living with somebody in MS-13 or a gang member, it is very possible that you could get swept up in that. That is just a reality.
Listen, the vast majority of the people who have been detained do not have criminal records.
Exactly. And, the fact that they would even make this comment or would make this claim just shows you, ladies and gentlemen, that they're corrupt and they're thinking. But let's keep watching.
75%.
If you're living with a gang member, you gotta know that's a possibility.
That's not the people that were scooped up in this residential building in the middle of the night. You're just making things up. You're making things up. Most of the people that have been detained do not have any criminal records or ties to gangs.
I'm sure you can find an example or two of this, but we also know the situations for a lot of these 170 Americans. And some of them were just happened to be in the same location as other people who might have been targeted by ICE and were still scooped up.
The teenage black boy I was referring to was in a CVS.
To Anna Navarro's point, that apartment building that they raided a couple of weeks ago that housed, frankly, mostly Americans, they only identified 2 alleged Tren de Aragua members. The rest of the people who were arrested, including American citizens, they're not gang members. So that's also happening.
Okay.
But I was asking you about the standards, because the issue at hand here is that the standards are not being met, and B, in some cases, are being slightly lowered to allow more people to get through this process because they have to meet a quota. And when you're talking about law enforcement, is that really what we should be doing?
No, absolutely not. And unfortunately, this is not really an ICE problem. This is a problem across the board. I think as many as 80% of police officers are overweight, and so we've seen standards just decrease across the board. Now, my understanding is that they aren't decreasing the standards. They're just saying that a lot of people are failing, and I think that's okay, right? They have a lot of people who are interested in joining. Not all of them are going to meet the criteria, and that's the reality.
A lot of people are joining because a lot of people need jobs. A lot of people are failing because we don't teach civic in schools, and that's a problem. And
they're offering $50,000 bonuses.
A lot of people are taking the job because there's student loan forgiveness. And I hope they don't lower the standard, because the last I checked, it was the DEI candidates that needed the standard lowered. But now it seems like the people who want to work for ICE might get their standards. Let's just see how this all plays out.
That's not what's
But-
happening. They're failing. The system is working. They have fitness standards. They have standards for civics. If you fail the standards, you don't get in. So the story is that you have a system in place designed to weed people out who shouldn't be in, and it's working. That's a good thing.
I will say this. So here's what we know, at least for now. In February, the requirements were this: 32 sit-ups in a minute or less, 22 push-ups in a minute or less, 220-yard sprint, 1.5 mile run. Now, the standard is 15 push-ups as opposed to 22. So it's still 32 sit-ups, 1.5 miles in slightly less time than before. So there's been a slight adjustment. Who knows why? You need to do 7 fewer push-ups than before, but
So the standards were lowered.
You still have to meet an athletic standard, and you
appears
still
to
have to
be
meet a
the
civics
So they lowered the
standard.
But
standard.
standard's still declining.
I also
Standard's
think,
still
I mean,
declining.
to
But it's
me,
not just-
also the civics part is huge, because knowing
Right.
people's rights in this country is part of what you need to know if you're going to be violating them potentially as a law enforcement officer, or at least you have the power to do that.
But there was another claim tucked into that report, which is the people themselves are misrepresenting themselves. Say they're lying. See, that's a decline of standards too. It's a matter of character. It's a matter of soul craft. So it's not just you got a decline of standards across the board, and too often you want to scapegoat the most vulnerable. It must be the black folk and brown folk responsible for the decline of standards. No, get off the crack pipe. That's not true at all. What's really true is the decline of standards across the board, and people acting as if they're so athletically on the cutting edge, and when it's time to take the test, they can't pass
And
it.
if you lie
Just
on your
today-
application, perhaps you lie on the job.
Well, just
And
today
if
there
you
was an
lie,
ICE police.
Exactly. And I don't know what trashy Scott Jennings is talking about when he says it's working. It's not working because people are failing the test. We have the results, Scott. Why are you defending them without evidence? It just doesn't make sense to me. Let me know what you all think down below in the comments, because this is absolutely absurd. I cannot believe this party is still in power. Let's keep watching.
Officer whose weapon discharged and injured a U.S. Marshal and the suspect because they were using the service weapon to bang on the window of a suspect. I mean, I don't know. I mean, these are the types of things that just seem like, is there proper training happening here when it comes to ICE?
There's not. We've all seen it. And there should be.
You definitively state that they're not being properly trained. Do you know that?
They're shooting dogs. They're shooting dogs in people's that have been locked in people's bathrooms. They're abandoning small children alone in
False.
cars while they. No, they're.
That's actually very true, Scott Jennings. That's very, very true. Like, have you not watched the videos and the reports of them consistently leaving dogs and leaving children just alone and taking away their parents, and they were here legally? And where are your reports, Scott? See, this is the problem with trashy Scott Jennings. He says false, but he has nothing to back it up. It's crazy.
No, it's not false. Look it up. Don't just say false. I actually.
Abandoning small children.
Yes,
they turned the children over to HHS.
There were actually
custody.
small children abandoned in a highway in a
You
car
have these
in
vague
Cicero,
anecdotes,
Illinois.
and you make these sweeping
how much
statements
more
that they're not
specific
training.
would you like me
They're
to
not
get
training ICE.
with
Of course
with
they go through
examples of
training.
what is happening?
Of course they're training them.
Well, they're training them, then they're not learning this stuff. They're definitely violating human rights, Scott.
Well, I disagree with you.
Okay, well.
Well, look, Scott, she had a specific example. Sounds like you were unfamiliar with it.
I'm not aware of her example. Here's what I know.
Wow, Scott. So everything you just said is irrelevant because you're not even aware of her example. You're not even aware of what's going on with ICE and what they're really doing. It just shows the ignorance of trashy Scott Jennings, ladies and gentlemen. It's just crazy to me.
Okay, so
Under
you don't
Joe
know
Biden,
whether...
Joe Biden, they didn't enforce federal immigration law. Now we do. We're having hundreds of thousands of interactions.
my point is that you
things
just
will
said...
happen, but she said they are not
I know,
training
but you-
them.
but
She
no,
said
but
they're not
she-
training
she-
Do you
No,
think
no,
that?
no,
Do
she
you
said
think that
she was
trained?
saying-
Do you think that trained
She was saying a
ICE
specific
agents
example,
would,
and you said it was
scoop up
false.
U.S. citizens?
Don't.
She said,
you just
quote, they're not
acknowledged
training
that.
them.
You just
We all
acknowledged that
see
you
it.
don't know what she was
Do you
referring
think?
to.
I don't. I don't know
that
what she's talking
scooping up
about.
U.S. citizens without giving them?
I disagree with the generalization that they're scooping up U.S.
There's
citizens.
170 that have been.
Well, there's
scooped
over
up.
500,000 illegal
There's
aliens that have
Oh my goodness, Scott. Like, you see, look at the shifting of the goalposts here, guys. Like, Literally, Scott Jennings doesn't even acknowledge the 170 that Anna Navarro was talking about. Rather, he's just jumping to conclusions. But what about all the illegals and da 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 da? Scott, you guys said that you promised you would round up illegals, but you didn't promise that you would round up legals with the illegals. This is totally backwards what you're doing. Your whole administration is just backwards right now.
Been
There's
deported.
little children that have been
1.6
scooped up
million have
that are U.S.
self-deported.
citizens.
All right, look.
I know you don't want the law enforced. I get it. You don't have to yell at me.
The law enforced, Scott? Is that what you think is happening?
You don't want the law
All right,
enforced.
look,
I understand.
Listen, look, it is true.
Guess what?
That
On this
United States
table, black and
citizens
white people can
have
yell.
been detained by ICE without.
Detained and released.
Yeah,
Released.
But
Released.
whether you're detained
After
and released
hours or
after
days of
hours or
being
days,
held?
your rights may still be violated, and that's still an issue that people have a
Can I
right to
just-
be concerned
Can I
about.
just throw a curveball? The reason why they're often detained though is also because of the color of their skin.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's, again, a sweeping blanket general. Do you know of a
No, we got
specific
data for that.
instance
No,
where
no,
someone,
we got
I mean,
data for that.
honestly,
Question, do
The
we know
answer
the
is
specific
They got
instance
data
of
for
what?
that.
the answer
I mean,
is.
you're saying they're
hold
not
on a
treated.
second.
You're saying they're racist.
The
I mean, these are
answer-
I
blanket
didn't say that.
statements.
That was a blanket
That's
statement.
The
wild.
answer is yes, we do know of specific
a blanket
instances
statement.
in which people, American citizens,
Yep.
have been arrested because they happen to be in a particular place and look a certain way. That has actually happened. They're documented. So this is
And
not
released.
guesswork that we're doing here. Yeah, but they're still detained. They're still arrested without their rights being.
And that's the thing, guys. Like this whole video, Scott has been deflecting all the evidence that has been presented on the table. He asked for the evidence just now, and then when they gave it to him, he deflected again. It's a never-ending story with them. Like, I just don't get it. But those are my thoughts, guys. Please, again, let me know what you all think down below in the comments. I will see you on the next video. Peace.